All right, welcome back to Touhou Project Mania Cup, number 4. It is I, Paturages, on my lunch break right now. I have a work meeting in 1 hour, so let's get this done quick. So this is going to be the Rana 16 showcase, and there are going to be 13 maps. There are going to be a total of 6 rice picks. There's like 5 normal rice picks and 1 X rice pick. 2 hybrids, 3, 4 LNs actually? No, 3 LNs. No, 4 LNs. I can count correctly. Like 3 regular LNs and 1 X LN. Like the X maps are gonna be harder than the regular mainstay maps. But yeah, I suggest we do this quick because I don't have all the time in the world. Rice number 1 is gonna be the speed-oriented map. So, oh, oh, it's fine, it's fine. We are truly on the grind behind the scenes, that is. So this first map is going to be very speed-oriented, and as you can see, like the patterning is like very straightforward, and like the snapping kind of goes back and forth between the streams and the kind of jump stream transitions here and there. So compared to the last round, the BPM is gonna be 10 BPM higher apparently. So like going from the BPM, I assume this is 1.6 at 191 BPM or so. So I feel like considering the caliber of players that are in the tournament, that is still going to be in the early game realm, and I think like a lot of the difficulty for especially the physically apt teams is going to be nailing like the control that you have to have in order to nail the transitions between streams and the slow jump stream. Like the slow jump stream at 191 BPM is can be a little bit tricky to handle, especially going in and out of those transitions. The length is 2 minutes and 37 seconds, so it's not too long, but it doesn't give a lot of grades. It's yeah, I feel like this is going to be especially especially like stamina / consistency type of pick. Some people might want to pick this due to the physicality required against lower seeds. The lower seeds tend to be kind of tend to have lower physicality attached to them due to how the qualifiers were structured, because they were kind of biased towards the late game stages. And there is also an RC, an X rice pick that you might want to focus on in terms of physicality. We'll see that later. That is going to be the 6th rice that is going to be shown on stream. But that's it for this one. And since the replay from the OP meme does feature 1 combo break, I do feel like it's important to say that combo can be really important, and combo has been historically really important in the early game. And you can see like this could have been a 995k maybe with that kind of ACK, but with 1 miss, that is going to be a 989k. So that's the kind of score that you might lose in the process of getting a combo break. Going into rice number 2. All right, so rice number 2 is going to be the jump stream oriented map, and at 220 BPM, again, considering the caliber of players that are still in the tournament, the last like, I think there are still like either 24 or 32 teams remaining. I don't actually remember the correct amount. I think we're past the group stages, so I feel like there might only be 16 teams remaining. I'm not really sure. But either way, I think like considering the caliber of players still in the tournament, 220 BPM is still going to be in the realm of consistency. And getting the right amount of ratio and accuracy to get this correctly. The patterning itself is like pretty trilly, as you can see, like in the transitions here and there. And also coming from Kiraz, this is a custom. I believe this is custom map by Kiraz, but Kiraz does have a fairly trilly approach and fairly pronounced in terms of musical representation, like vocal representation at least. So it does put that accent here and there. This broken jump stream also do require some control, and I feel like that's a pretty common theme coming from Rise number 1 as well. Like Rise number 1 does require some control going back and forth from stream to jump stream transition. Here, it's a little bit of the same kind of principle, like going back and forth between the break sections and the jump streams themselves. Yeah, it's kind of pretty challenging, especially with the features of some hands and some quads here and there. I feel like the difficulty is like very transitional. Last week was 204 BPM, which was very easily nailed by pretty much everyone, I feel like. So just a litmus test, really. Nice combo break here. Silicosis ET, thank you for your replay, by the way. But yeah, pretty much a test of consistency, and especially given the length, 3 minutes and 39 seconds is an especially long pick for a tournament, so it does really put the accent on consistency. And as you can see, like from the trill itself, it does put more of an accent on musical representation and flow rather than just providing a straight jump stream experience. And that is, I think, for the best in early game, especially to kind of decide one team from the other rather than just a ratio accuracy test. I think it makes it more interesting. Yeah, some of those transitions here and there, like especially in like the syncopated transitioning, it does start and stop here and there, so it's like not super straightforward to nail. Like the flow is not constant at all. So really, I don't think it's as much as a jump stream pick as much as a consistency pick, really. It's like consistency with a strong jump stream bias, but yeah, you do with that what you want. In any case, Rise number 3 is going to be the Jack-oriented map. I believe it is going to be a court Jack rather than just a straight up Jack speed, but it remains to be seen. So this is going to be a map coming from Untitled Unrevised, also known as Blue Potion. So coming from the BPM, 141 BPM is definitely veering towards the physical end of the map pool. I mean, Rise number 2 was only 220 BPM. I feel like 220 BPM jump stream in terms of physicality is something that people can pretty easily nail. This one, 141 BPM does depend on the density of the chord jacks themselves. Like here in this intro, there's nothing much to talk about. Like it's very lightly patterned, and it kind of just prepares you for what is coming up in the rest of the map. It is 3 minutes long, so it does take a little bit of time to build up as we go into the song. Like for now, it seems pretty manageable at a pretty light density. But as we go onto the map, the density kind of ramps up and up. And especially the anchors are going to get really more pronounced towards the second half. But still, like despite the more pronounced anchoring, like what you can see right now is like pretty balanced in terms of hand balance, hand control. It does require a fair amount of coordination not to choke, and I think like the most important thing in this core jack pick is going to be not to choke. It is a very consistent flow of jacks. Not many stream or technical transitions here and there. Very much snapped to what you can expect from a regular court jack map. So the upper-ended teams are going to be probably going to be sharp shooting this to probably 998Ks, upwards of that. We could maybe expect some 999Ks from some teams. But yeah, I feel like a lot of teams might want to aim for at least 995K as a score baseline. Like you can see, the score here is a 996K with 150 in its roster. Take you to my Angel Planet. By the way, for the replay. So yeah, that kind of score is pretty much what you can expect from the teams in this tournament. Going into race number 4, it's going to be one of the Rice wildcard picks. We don't really know what we're going to get, really. We're just gonna have to see what the maps have to provide us. Is it gonna be technical? Is it gonna be mixed Rice? We're just gonna have to see. This one is going to be more on the technical side. It's going to be Spring of Dreams. This is a map coming from Yaori Chesu, coming from MWC fame. This last year has mapped a fair amount of MWC 2024 maps, especially like the technical ones. So you can expect some really clean delivery. And this one is going to be a little bit more dumpy in nature. I feel like a lot of technical picks from Touhou song choices is very much dump oriented. And a Eurobeat dump is pretty common in the sphere. And oh, those trills are pretty interesting. And I feel like that's a main feature of the pick itself. And it does require some finesse, it does require some control to nail here and there. And those trills, also the trills that speed up before the main chorus, those require some control. I feel like control is going to be the name of the game in this pick in particular. Very oriented towards not only the two-hand trills that are very prominent and isolated in the chorus and in the like quote-unquote vibrato. Oh, the zigzag pattern. I love the zigzag patterns. But also it is going to be centered on the one-hand trills that you could see in the first verse here and there. Also, some of the mini jacks do require some posture checks on your fingers in order for you to handle properly. But I think, coming from the song itself, I feel like this map is going to be fairly monotonous in nature. It is going to be just reacting to what is thrown at you and how the song is going. So 2 minutes and 52 seconds of that. Not going to be too much of a challenge yet for the upper-ended teams. 467 star rating. It's like not too dense yet. We are still in round of 16, mind you, so I do feel like a lot of teams are going to still be sharpshooting accuracy on this kind of pick. So people who might want to pick this should be careful about getting good enough accuracy and also not to choke, not combo break, because a combo break will cost a lot of points. 991k from my Angel Planet once again. A pretty baseline score. I feel like a fair amount of teams are capable of getting maybe a little bit higher scores, but still lower scores expected than on the Court Jack pick. Kind of, if you want to get a baseline of what kind of scores teams could get. Anyways, going into race number 5, it's going to be another wild card pick. And from what I can see in the notes, this is also going to be fairly technical, but this time more focused on something that is way more snappy and gracy and just very much more control based, but in the start and stop nature. And also some of those mini jack transitions do spell the nature of this map. So this map is going to be brought to you by Blue Potion, also known as Untitled and Revised. We have both monikers on stream on the layout, but this was also pretty heavily edited by YuEast. By the way, YuEast has been hauling behind the streams. Basically, has contributed a lot to quality control and map pool balance, especially. So also shout out to all of the test players behind the scenes in order to provide to you the best balancing there is for this round of 16 and onwards. So 150 BPM. As far as the mini jacks go, it's a little bit faster than the Court Jack pick, so it does require a fair amount of control still. I feel like a lot of those Rise maps, especially in the early game, do require a fair amount of control because it's not veering towards the physical realm just yet. But like those bursts are not fast enough that you have to kind of rush, kind of manip them, quote unquote. But it's still gonna be requiring some teams to kind of control their speed in order to get the best ratio, in order to master, to kind of surpass their opponent and get the point. Here, this section with all of the graces, it's like really hard to get good act on. And I feel like this kind of section would make the difference between the teams that do know how to master good ratio on this kind of section versus the teams who do not know any better in terms of getting good ratio on this map. As you can see, the kind of people that are able to get 998k on this map is, well, for example, DOP Meme from Singapore, who provided this replay. I believe there are many other people in the world that are capable of performing this well, so be careful about what you are picking. Speaking of which, we are going into the Rise X maps.
Yes, the Rise X pick is also called Rise Extreme pick, as we said in the rule set before. On run of 32 Mappools and onward, we always have one extreme pick. That means will be one round harder than the other maps in the entire Mappools. So we are going to the first extreme pick, the Rise Extreme, called RCX.
Yeah, so RCX, as Rush said behind the streams, also thank you and shout out to Rush for streaming this beautiful background video, by the way. So this map is going to be brought to you by Imperial Trinity, and it's going to be fairly more physical than the other pick. So this one also has a fairly dumpy structure, kind of reminiscent of Rise I want to say rice number 2 or yeah, rice number 2, yeah. So also kind of a dumpy pick, but in a very different way than it, because the structure of Bang Bang mapped by Imperial Trinity is that uh, tr Imperial likes to kind of switch back and forth between the really dumpy, streamy structure and the mini jack in very anchory sections that do require some, not only some really heavy physicality, but also control between all of those transitions. The bursts here and there do peak up to be really harsh, and like the style of technical maps from Imperial Trinity are pretty much ruthless. Like I I try to play some Imperial Trinity techs from time to time. I'm sometimes subjected to them in tournaments, you know, but every time I'm just left breathless because it's just way too tiring for me. But yeah, this section, for example, kind of like a back and forth between very trilly stop and start broken jump stream and some chord jacks, still at 137 BPM. Mind you, the chord jack pick is at 140 BPM, so it's like actually pretty close. And some of those jacks do kind of rival with the physicality of the chord jacks themselves. And I found the chord jacks to be more physical than the rise and speed picks by a fair amount, because like we do have to kind of upper ball the chord jacks because people are just too good at chord jacks. This is like an MWC level type of tournament, so you do really have to amp up the difficulty. So also this is why we have this kind of pick to balance the map out. You really have to put the difficulty in there. So this is going to be the rice, the hard rice map, but there's also a hard LN map that we are going to see before the tiebreaker. Like this, it's going to be the next to last map. But yeah, before we even go into that, we do have some hybrids, and some LNs to go through. First, hybrid number 1 is going to be more straightforward, less technical, but it is still going to be a Vido map. So Vido is a mapper that many people should know, not only from MWC, but also from many other tournaments in the world. But yeah, many LNs, kind of reminiscent of kind of density oriented, but with also many ruthless start and stop, jump stream transitions here and there, and the bursty transitions also. The snaps are fairly straightforward, so I feel like even if the OD at 7.6, this is still going to be fairly quote-unquote hackable by a fair amount of teams. Some of those staggers do require some control, especially at OD 7.6. But yeah, the hybrid pick does provide some fair amount of variety to the Mappools. Kind of provides this kind of coordination gambit here. And at 200 BPM, it does require a fair amount of physicality, like especially LN physicality, since a fair amount of the parts are going to provide some LN density indirectly, not as a LN density pick, but rather as just the nature of a 200 BPM pick, a 200 BPM hybrid pick, that is. So I do believe it's going to be a fair amount more physical than the other hybrid that you're going to see. So this replay was brought to you by Midred, by the way. So pretty reasonable score. 978. I feel like 978 is kind of in the lower ball of scores that the teams around the world could provide. So could probably expect some 985Ks at least, maybe some 990Ks, 995Ks, probably in the upper range. But it all remains to be seen. It all remains to be proven by the teams in play. Going into hybrid number 2 is going to be the technical pick in the hybrid category, that is. A map brought to you by Ailsan. And we are going to have a jazz touch for this particular pick. 4.72 star rating. So just fairly reasonably dense, and also kind of like for now the snaps are fairly straightforward, but the mini jacks here and there are way more intrusive and prevalent than on hybrid ones. So it's gonna be a lot more control based. But a lot more jack control based than hybrid number 1, which was a lot more streamier than what you see right now. And especially like 176 BPM is going to be requiring a little bit more control than 200 BPM, especially in terms of just nailing the LN transitions and releasing the LNs on time to get the ratio that you want. It is going to be a fair amount more lenient than OD 7.6 on hybrid number 1, however, because this is OD 7.0. And 2 minutes and 3 seconds is on the shorter end of the picks of this map pool. But I feel like this map is this map provides kind of a really challenging map to not choke on, and the combo break. I feel like the combo breaks are going to be the story of points being broken or just tears being shed on the field. Some of those coordination, those LN coordination pods are can really put a hamper on some people's performances and accuracies. Especially going from jack control into LN coordination is like not the easiest thing in the world. And I definitely don't think that this hybrid 2 is the easiest map in the pool at all. But yeah, that is going to be another OP memes. OP meme replay. 996K is a really good score on this one. I don't really expect that many scores higher than this one, but it is a score that can be matched by a few players in this tournament. But yeah, going into LN number 1, it's going to be a coordination LN pick. Mapped by Castella. Castella, a pretty I want to say it's an LN machine in terms of mapping, just because I know them behind the scenes for reasons. But yeah, this kind of coordination is gonna peak at 145 BPM, so swing 145 BPM with this kind of releases does require a fair amount of control in just nailing the right amount of time to hold those long notes and release them at the right time, and also coordinate with your fingers afterwards. So this is going to be a little bit more of a release-based coordination. So really chill map, but I don't think like in practice it's gonna be chill at all, considering like all of the staggers here and there, and also the graces here and there are also flow breaking, because on one hand you could very well just focus on the releases and just focus on the release timing, but the graces here and there do kind of break your flow in focusing on the releases, and you also have to focus on the rise itself. So it's kind of a back and forth in just nailing the flow, the back and forth flow between graces and releases, and just nailing the right timing. 7.2, as far as OD goes, is fairly lenient, but not as lenient as straight up 7 OD 7.0. This is going to be a fairly long pick for a coordination pick as well. 3 minutes and 15 seconds is definitely a lot to ask for people who are not as good in LN coordination as some other people, especially since a lot of this map's nature is going to be fairly unpredictable because a lot of the releases are kind of flow-based and some of the graces are fairly arbitrary and fleeting in nature. Like the expression in this kind of song choice is like not really that predictable, so you really have to kind of react on the spot in what you're seeing. Like there's not a lot of structures, like very whimsical. So yeah, it's what you can expect in round of 16. You can expect some faster picks in the late game, I think, but putting the slow picks on the table, like especially song choice wise, definitely adds on to the song representation in a Touhou themed tournament. So it's always nice to see. The replay was brought to you by GB Reisen. And with 981k, I do believe like this is what kind of score like the second line players of teams could bring up. I feel like it's I think it's par for the course for the second players at least, but we do expect some fairly nutty players to provide some really good accuracy scores, like upwards of 990k or perhaps 992, 993, perhaps not 995 because it's still pretty tricky to act, but I can expect some scores upwards of 995k. But going into LN number 2 is going to be the density-oriented pick. So in terms of length, this is going to be quite a bit lower than than LN number 1. It's going to be 2 minutes and 39 seconds, so a little bit more average in regards to average song length in this pool. So in terms of density, the first thing to note is the BPM. 180 BPM is not fast enough that people will falter in LN physicality, but it's low enough that it's going to require a fair amount of control from the players to get a good ratio, especially at OD 7.5. OD 7.5 at 180 BPM does require you to just nail the BPM correctly rather than just mashing like a monkey. And especially like considering the structure of this LN pick, kind of goes back and forth, not necessarily in a straightforward way. You see, like for example, this kind of part is like fairly coordination demanding and does require you to actually read the notes involved in this pick. I don't think LN density in early game should be straightforward at all, and this map is definitely not straightforward enough that you can just autopilot it. So the mapper is not a mapper I've seen a lot in the scene. So Shinpeng 1003, thank you for providing this map. And it's always refreshing to see some mappers that we have not necessarily seen in the scene, and we do have to also thank the Chinese side of things in terms of organization, because the mainstay, the core of the staff is also Chinese. So for a lot of fellows like Westerners, quote unquote, some of the Asian mapping scene is kind of we are kind of blindsided to this side of mapping, so it's always kind of refreshing to see new mappers from all around the world surfacing in this kind of tournament. We also should provide on our end some more mappers. We do see a fair amount of American representation here and there. European, it kind of remains to be seen, but I feel like European tournament organization is still kind of in its infancy, and indirect teaser, we are working on it in some way. But that was LN number 2, the density pick, 180 BPM, brought to you by Xinghang, replay brought to you by Ryzen. Once again, 1993, a more reasonable score than the LN1's 980k. So you can see like one single player can have very varying scores on the LN pick, depending on the orientation of the picks. But going into LN3 is going to be the wildcard pick. And this is going to be a classic mapper name. Cherry Chow, you might know that mapper from OMLN 3, perhaps. So some of their maps were featured, and some of their maps were also featured in other tournaments as well. Fairly underrated wildcard mapper, especially like in terms of like physical wildcards. I do feel like there's a fair amount of Cherry Chow wildcardy, almost hybrid-like maps that are kind of underused in some tournaments. I do have a fair amount of Cherry Chow maps that I did not use in tournaments before, but I did receive behind the scenes the word that it is not actually Cherry Chow's map, it is actually YuEast's map, and to be honest, it did not really look like a Cherry Chow map up until now. So shoutouts to YuEast, really. YuEast, you do not need any introduction to YuEast, LNs. YuEast is a really versatile mapper in terms of LNs as a whole. YuEast can just pretty much map anything. Coordination releases, especially density. YuEast has made themselves known through density, and here you can see like there's pretty much everything. There's gonna be mini jacks. There's gonna be density, like light density at 168 BPM. It's gonna be a fair amount of coordination, and I feel like this map, by virtue of all of the mini jack transitions, especially at 168 BPM, is gonna be a fair amount harder to nail than the other two LN picks if you're not physical enough. It's like a very dangerous LN pick to consider if you're not like really solid, if you're not like a top liner kind of team. But it is a really short pick compared to the average of the map pool. 2 minutes and 6 seconds. It's definitely, you don't really see the map go just like that, but yeah, it is a pick to consider in terms of difficulty compared to the other two LNs. But speaking of difficulty, we do have a harder LN map to come by the name of the XLN.
Before we go into LNX, I should thank you again for Cherry Chow bringing such awesome custom sound to Touhou Project Mania Cup. I really enjoyed this piano sounds a lot. And CCY also called Cherry Chow, also both sold member and sold artist in the tournament science. Anyway, we are going to.
Wait, Cherry Chow actually made this song? That's
Yes.
really cool, actually.
Yes, CCY is Cherry Chow. They are same person.
Oh, thank you for the information. So shoutouts to CCY, well, Cherry Chow, that is. Always good to see some song makers born from the Mania community. Shoutouts to How to Play LN, for example. Also, one of the pioneers of the genre. Anyways,
so after this custom song finished, we are going to the last regular pick, LN difficult.
Yeah, speaking of Cherry Chow, it's gonna be an actual Cherry Chow map. That is.
Really, Cherry map here.
Okay, so star rating 6.30. Let's go. Yeah, you asked for hard maps. There you go. You get some hard maps. There's not much to be said about this. Like it's 6.30 is like very much one notch above the other picks in terms of difficulty, and in terms of difficulty, like you can see like this goes kind of all over the place. It, what you can see is already like pretty demanding in terms of coordination. It's like in control, especially. And at 190 BPM, it does also require a fair amount of physicality, like especially like going into some of the mini Jackie density-based sections. It's pretty wild. And especially like coming from the song choice, you can pretty much figure out which song this is covering, going from the motifs, and it is a pretty iconic song, that is. So yeah, this is basically your boss theme for as far as the LN pool goes. And this break, like some people might call the break the hardest sections in the entire map, because like the breaks do put a hold on the flow that you might have maintained through just maintaining the sheer physicality that those LN bursts require. And just maintaining the staggers especially do require, again, a lot of control and self-control. And especially with nerves on play in a tournament situation, this is not an easy pick to maintain by any means of the imagination. And some trills here and there also going to be fairly challenging to control, and this ending is kind of also pretty evil as a whole. Again, Raisen with the replay, 983k. That's a higher score than LN1. So some late game players might want to save this pick against a particular type of opponent. And so that was the last non-tiebreaker pick, and all that remains now to see is the tiebreaker. So the tiebreaker is also going to be equally nutty in terms of physicality. And the reason why, like as a reminder, by the way, because nothing has changed compared to like the last rounds or so, the reason why tiebreakers are harder than the mainstay pool, especially like the regular picks, is that the tiebreakers have this functionality of breaking ties, and just figuring out who should be proceeding onwards to the next stage. And I do believe that the ones that do deserve to advance onto the later stages are the ones who can actually handle the later stages. So it only makes sense to make the tiebreaker harder than the mainstay pool. So this is why this is that hard. And this is probably like, this is a notch harder than even the previous LNX pick that you just saw. And especially since it's going to be adding a fair amount more physicality, since the tiebreakers are hybrid in nature. So some of the Rise physicality is definitely going to put a hamper on people's stamina. And I don't think full combos should be expected in this tiebreaker. It is really a battle of survival that is expected to take place between the teams that happen to fit this tiebreaker criteria. Here we still have a fair amount of very coordination demanding sections here and there, because physicality, of course, is not the only thing that matters in this round. Coordination and control. I've said the word control like 1,000 times in this showcase already, but I do believe it's like really important still in round of 16. It is what got people out of group stage. It is what is going to make people survive in this stage as well. Really jazzy section here. I like this section. No, honestly, this is a banger. Shoutouts to GC Dongsheng, by the way. For the map, so that's really GC Dongsheng, a mapper that has mapped many tiebreakers around the place, around the world, around the various tournaments we've known during the past years. Also, someone who is very much known in the BN community, I believe, and also as an MWC contributor as well, I think. So pretty much a veteran in the community and also in the Chinese community. Yeah, this part is also pretty funky, pretty bursty in nature. Also requires a fair amount of control with these staggers here and there, and high talent gaps also. And by the way, this performance, this replay performance has been brought to you by the OP meme. So the OP meme, definitely at the right at the top level in terms of benchmark. I want to say, I think the OP meme does match some of our top liners, like top of the line best players in the world. So like this kind of score could be one of the scores that some of our top players could match. So it is just a case to be shown that this kind of score is still possible, even going into this really fast density slash physicality based 230 BPM part. It does really feel like 230 BPM from gut here. I'm just assuming this is 230 BPM. It might not be, because there's no way to tell what the current BPM is on a current section, because there's nothing shown on the screen. Thank you, Osu. Well, as with any other rhythm game, really, like what kind of rhythm game shows the live BPM on the screen at any given time? I think Eterna does it actually. So yeah. But in any case, I digress. So this is going to be it for the Mappools showcase of Rana 16. So those are all the 13 maps that you are going to be enjoying, or not. Well, kind of depends on your tastes, really. But we do want to provide you with a pretty decent experience, and we also want to shout out all of the custom mappers, all of the playtesters behind the scenes for bringing us this this Mappool experience, and we hope that you at home can find comfort and also excitement in enjoying this Mappool right here, right now. We will see you next weekend for the actual matches that are going to take place in this round of 16. This has been Touhou Project Mania Cup, the 4th, and I'll be going back to work. Bye.